Our story begins in a suburb of Maricopa, Arizona. A man is talking on the phone with his sister as he drives home. He turns down the street that connects to his driveway. Unbeknownst to him, this is the final time he will drive down this street. He turns into his driveway and pulls into the garage. He puts the car in park and tells his sister to hold on as he changes the call over from the car's Bluetooth to his cell phone. During what should have been a period of silence, the sister heard her brother say, "Holy shit," followed by 3 loud booms. She yelled out for her brother a couple of times but got no response. She hung up and tried calling him again, but her brother didn't pick up. She was unsure of what to do next as she lived multiple states away. Seconds after the gunshots were fired, neighbors called the police. Within minutes, 2 Maricopa police officers arrived on the scene. Neighbors point them toward a house with the garage door open and a car inside. One of the officers walks up the driveway and towards the driver's side of the car.
"We got a subject shot in this vehicle. You need to roll fire quick." "Hey man, you with me? Hey man, stay with me, buddy."
Before the officers can render aid to the male slumped over in the driver's seat, they must ensure that the scene is safe and that the threat is over. They wait for backup. As more officers arrive, a team makes entry into the house. Ultimately, they didn't find anyone inside the house and nothing appeared to have been tampered with. They go back to the victim, put pressure on his injuries, and check for a pulse. The fire department showed up shortly after and connected EKGs to check for a heart rhythm. They determined that there was no aid that could be rendered that would successfully bring the man back. He was deceased. Homicide detectives arrive on the scene. Through the victim's driver's license, he was determined to be 31-year-old Michael Agerter. Michael was born on July 26, 1985 in Indiana. He was the oldest of 4 children. As the big brother, Michael set an example for his siblings. In 2002, Michael's family moved to Urbana, Ohio. This is where Michael's love of sports took hold. During high school, he was on the football team. His dad, Mark Agerter, was the coach. After a year of college, Michael decided he was ready to enter the workforce. He got a job at a local mortgage company. In 2010, Michael went on a trip to Arizona to visit relatives. He enjoyed the area so much that this time he checked out a possible new job. After an interview, Michael was offered the job, and it was an opportunity the 25-year-old could not pass up. When he returned home, he told his family that he accepted a job offer in Arizona and that he would be moving soon. Michael made the move to the Phoenix area and began working at Wells Fargo. Less than a year later, Michael's friend Chris also moved to Arizona. The two became roommates. By 2013, Michael's future looked bright and he wanted someone to share it with. He began online dating. The first match he had online was with a woman named Kathryn Sinkevitch. Eventually, they met in person and their chemistry was undeniable. She was a very daring person. On one of their first dates, they went skydiving. However, Michael learned that Kathryn's carefree exterior masked a tragic past. Kathryn's ancestry is Russian, but she grew up in Southern California as one of 8 children. Both of her parents were deceased. When she was 13, she found her mother dead on the kitchen floor. Kathryn's older sister ended up raising her. Kathryn kept this painful childhood to herself. After dating for several months, Michael took Kathryn to Ohio to meet his family. Everything went well, and the family thought Kathryn was great. Once back in Arizona, the couple took another big step when Kathryn presented him with a gift, a dog they named Darwin. Michael loved this dog to the point where he hung up pictures in their house, the same way people hang up pictures of their family. In the spring of 2016, Michael called his family to deliver some exciting news. Kathryn was pregnant. Everyone in the family was excited, but during her pregnancy, Michael and Kathryn's relationship took a turn for the worse. She accused him of cheating on her. Michael was shocked by her allegations. He tried his best to make her happy, but there were just too many problems. He decided that he couldn't raise a child in that environment. He made the decision to leave. He hoped that Kathryn would reconcile with him after the baby was born. But just months later, this new father is found dead in his garage. Authorities begin a sweep of the crime scene. The weapon used to kill Michael was not at the scene. However, detectives did recover 3 shell casings inside the garage. It was clear that Michael was ambushed as he still had his sunglasses on and his car was left running. Of the 3 shots that were fired, Michael was hit twice, once in the head and once in the back. The remaining shot struck the B-pillar. In front of the house, investigators find a shoe imprint in the mud that was likely made by the killer. The imprint was between Michael's and his neighbor's house. Detectives also noticed security cameras around the house, but they must wait for a warrant before they can view the footage. In the meantime, a man shows up identifying himself as Chris Grindy, Michael's longtime friend and former roommate. He had received a call from Michael's sister telling him that Michael wasn't answering his phone and that something was wrong. She asked him if he could drive down and check on him. He said sure. As soon as he turned the corner on the street, he saw the police tape. Chris was shocked to hear that Michael had been murdered. Michael wasn't involved in any criminal activity, so he wasn't the kind of person that would have enemies after him. Chris told the police that Michael lived alone and that his sister and most of his family lived 28 hours away in Ohio. Chris also told the police that Michael's ex-girlfriend Kathryn and their newborn son lived nearby. Chris was suspicious of Kathryn from the beginning.
She physically beat the hell out of him. She needs to no friends fry. I hope we have death penalty here.
After talking with Chris, investigators then speak with the neighbors. Several neighbors reported seeing a white van leaving the area at a high rate of speed after the shots rang out. However, the accounts of who was driving the van were inconsistent at best. They received multiple descriptions of the driver, ranging from a black male to a white female and basically everything in between. Back at Michael's house with a signed warrant, detectives take a look at the surveillance footage. A white minivan can be seen parked across the street. A few minutes pass. Then, as Michael's white Lexus is seen pulling into the garage, a person dressed in all black exits the van. The person ran across the front of Michael's house and up the driveway. Then, 11 seconds later, that same person is seen running away toward the minivan. The person gets in the van and drives away. Between the angle of the cameras and the hoodie worn by the assailant, investigators were unable to see any identifying characteristics. Detectives notify next of kin of Michael's death. Michael's family begins the long journey from Ohio to Arizona. With the statements made by Chris, detectives turn their attention to locating Michael's ex, Kathryn. They look up the make and model of her vehicle and discover that she drives a blue car, not a white minivan. That same day, authorities track down Kathryn to a home in Mesa, just a 40-minute drive from where Michael was shot. When the officers arrive, they observe Kathryn's vehicle and a white minivan in the driveway. They run the van's license plate. It comes back to a Bridget Hopkins. They make contact with both Kathryn and Bridget at the residence. When detectives inform Kathryn of Michael's death, she displays no emotion. Detectives ask both Kathryn and Bridget to come down to the police department. They both agreed. When asked about her whereabouts, Kathryn states that she was at work all day. She works with Bridget at a mortgage company. During the interview, Kathryn was acting as if she couldn't be bothered with answering the questions.
I need sleep.
Yeah, we all would like to have some sleep, but unfortunately there was a homicide in our county.
Give me a lawyer.
Give you a lawyer?
Yeah, I don't want to speak to relatives anymore.
With Kathryn lawyering up, investigators shift their attention to Bridget. She explains that she is Kathryn's coworker and that she has known Kathryn for about a year. Bridget corroborates Kathryn's alibi of being at work all day. Detectives inform Bridget that they're investigating a homicide. She was shocked to think that they would consider Kathryn a suspect in the murder. Bridget said that she stayed at work all day except for when she went to pick up lunch. With Bridget's vehicle matching the description given by neighbors in the van in the surveillance footage, detectives had reason to believe that Bridget's van was involved, so they seized her vehicle. They found 2 pieces of evidence inside: a shoe print of dirt which would be consistent with someone stepping into a puddle of mud. The other was a dark black sweatshirt that was similar to the one worn by the killer in the video. With no hard evidence directly tying Kathryn or Bridget to the murder, they must let both of them go. When Michael's family arrives in Maricopa, they share disturbing details about Michael's love life with investigators. Michael's loved ones had a lot to say about Michael and Kathryn's relationship. In the beginning, the two seemed great together, but just months into the relationship, Kathryn's behavior took a sharp turn. When angered, which they said didn't take much, she would break dishes and throw things around. She had also accused Michael of cheating on her with his sister. When she realized how crazy that sounded, she then said that his sister must have helped him cheat on her. Michael's friend and former roommate Chris Grindy had a front row seat to Kathryn's erratic behavior. Chris described her as a very manipulative and controlling person. Shortly after Kathryn moved in, Chris moved out. Michael tried his best to hold on, even as the relationship deteriorated. He tried to make things work, but the verbal abuse turned physical. She had knocked him out on multiple occasions. She had also headbutted him. In March 2016, Kathryn revealed that she was pregnant. Michael told friends and family that he had no plans to marry her, but that he wanted to support his child. Not long after the news of the pregnancy, Michael was finally ready to break it off. 4 months after moving out, Chris received a call from Michael. Michael said that Kathryn had bitten him and that it required stitches. Because of all this, Michael decided to leave. Around 8 months before he was found dead, Michael took the dog Darwin and moved into a home in Maricopa. Kathryn was furious. She hired a private investigator to find out where he lived. She waited for him to leave one day, grabbed the dog Darwin, and left with him. Investigators learned that Michael tried to take legal action on his own against Kathryn. He had an order of protection put in place in April of 2016. He had also gotten permission from the owner of the house he rented to install video cameras in case any other incidents took place. However, Kathryn refused to let up. Following the birth of her son in October 2016, she launched a vicious and hurtful campaign against Michael. He was just starting to get his parental rights. After this was happening, Kathryn announced in court that Michael wasn't the father. The court judge ordered that there be DNA testing. In fact, when Michael was returning home on the day he was killed, he was returning home from taking the parental test. With this new information about Kathryn, detectives head to the mortgage company where she works, with her friend Bridget. They speak with building security and ask to see surveillance footage from the day of the murder. Detectives find that less than a minute after Bridget left the cubicle area to eat lunch in the break room, Kathryn is seen leaving the building. A minute later, at 12:34 p.m., a van can be seen leaving the parking lot. At 3:19 p.m., about 3 hours later, the van returns. 1 minute after that, Kathryn is seen entering the building. What had Kathryn been up to for those 3 hours? The next day, detectives obtain a warrant for Kathryn's cell phone records. Her cell phone pings show her leaving work at around 12:30 p.m., then near her apartment at 1:16 p.m. After that, the phone shuts off. The next time the phone pings is at 3:22 p.m. back at the mortgage company. 4 days after the murder, detectives return to the mortgage company. They learn that Kathryn hadn't shown up for work, but that Bridget was there. They confront Bridget with the fact that Kathryn used her van. She had no idea that Kathryn had taken her vehicle. She told detectives that Kathryn was determined to keep Michael away from the baby. She wanted him to have nothing to do with the baby if he wasn't going to be with her. Kathryn told Bridget that she was the victim of the relationship. With all of the evidence, detectives had enough for an arrest warrant for Kathryn. However, she had not been heard from since being released on the 17th. Police check her home, but she and the baby are nowhere to be found. A day later, the police received a call from a friend of Kathryn. He said that Kathryn had called him and asked if she could stay with him. She also asked him not to look into Michael's death. This odd comment caused him to contact the police. Law enforcement rushed to the man's home.
Kathryn, is that you? Come on, you're not close. Turn around. Stop, turn around. Walk in my voice. Put your hands behind your head.
The fugitive task force went in and arrested Kathryn. She had the baby with her, but showed no concern that she was leaving without the child. Her son was unharmed and taken to the Arizona Department of Child Safety. 2 days after the arrest was made, the paternity test results came back. Michael was in fact the father. Michael's mother, Leslie, was then able to take custody of the child. In May 2019, Kathryn's trial began. Nearly all of the evidence against her was circumstantial. Prosecutors alleged that on December 16, 2016, Kathryn stole Bridget's van keys. She then snuck away from work, waited for Michael to return home, and then fired 3 shots into his car. On May 7, 2019, the jury delivered its verdict. Guilty. Kathryn was sentenced to life in prison without parole.